30 years to become a citizen.
I don't either, otherwise I might go there.
All right. The next speaker is relatively our new member, and I'm so proud of you because you are so giving in your spirit, and you're a long-time Toastmaster member before you transferred here, right?
Right.
And I learned that Stan worked for Red Hat, which is one of the buildings in Centennial campus. So I'm trying to find my way to go visit him to check it out. There's a building, the campus over there. So any one of you join me. With that, let's invite Stan over and interview you on this speech, because certainly you want to introduce this speech properly. So this is about Christmas.
Yes, it's a fractured version of The Night Before Christmas, which is the old English poem about Christmas.
Right.
But this is one that's delivered with a decidedly Louisiana slang.
Ah.
And Louisiana was settled by the French, so it has a lot of, it's in English, but it has a lot of French words thrown in.
I just want to make sure that Hun and Manya know The Night Before Christmas.
The Night Before Christmas.
Do you know there's a poem, the book for children? There's a very famous here in this country.
Oh.
And it used Old English, but it sounds wonderful. So this is going to be another a different version, but I'm sure you enjoy it. And you might be inspired to pick up one to go read it for your children.
Yeah.
We're looking for
Maybe someone can write the name on.
Okay, I'll put it on.
Get it.
Yeah, and I'll put it on right after this. Welcome, Stan.
I have a couple of versions of the book that I'll pass around. One's newer than the other. And unlike most of the United States, Louisiana, or at least South Louisiana, was settled by the French. And so Louisiana so if this is North Carolina, Louisiana is here. And just to segue into the previous speech, it is also shaped like a boot. Not a nice boot like Italy, it's shaped like a rather flat, tattered boot, but a boot nonetheless. And so South Louisiana, the Mississippi River runs up through the United States, and so the French, most of the French population in the 1800s was in this area where New Orleans is there. And so it's very common, and I think at least unique, or I think it's unique, that Cajuns like to, most jokes are about Cajuns. The Cajuns are what the Acadians are called, certain group of people, the French people in South Louisiana. So they will make fun of themselves. They won't make fun of Texans or New Yorkers, or their jokes will be about themselves. I always thought that was interesting. So the book is actually written by someone from Louisiana. It's not written by someone making fun of Louisianans. And the other interesting thing is, there are actually two groups of French that settled Louisiana. One is when Louisiana was originally settled, people came right from France, and then people came from Nova Scotia and northern Canada. The British kicked them out, and a lot of French came then, and that's who the Acadians are. So you have Creoles originally from France and the Acadians. So without further ado, this is, and of course, as is always the case when someone knows one language, but then you know a second language, maybe not as well, you will throw in residue from your previous language. So in this version, there's all kinds of French kind of things in it. It's in English, but there's French flavor to the words in the speech. So I'm going to give my best shot at a French accent. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a thing passed, not even a mouse. The children been nestled good snug on the floor, and Mama passed the pepper through the crack on the door. The Mama in the fireplace done roast up the ham, stir up the gumbo and make bake the yam. Then out on the bayou there got such a clatter, make sound like old Boudreaux done fall off his ladder. I run like a rabbit to get to the dough, trip over the dog, and fall on the floor. And I look out in the light of the moon, I think, man, you got crazy or got old too soon. 'Cause there on the bayou, when I stretch my neck stiff, there are 8 alligators pulling a skiff boat. And a little fat driver with a long pulling stick. I knew right away, got to be St. Nick. Mo faster and faster the gators they came, and he whistled and hollered and called them by name, French names. Gaston, T-Boy, Pierre, I'll say, Ninette, Suzette, Celeste, Renee. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, make crawl, alligator, and make sure you don't fall. Like Tanflow's cat, to the treetop he fly, when the big old hound dog done run himself by. Like that up the porch the old gator climbed, with a skiff full of toys, and St. Nick behind. Then on the top of the porch roof it sounded like the hail, bam, when all them big gators done sat down their tail. Then down the chimney, yell with a bam, as St. Nicholas fall on the red hot yam. Potatoes in his fireplace. Sacré, exclaimed, my pant got a hole. I sat myself down on the red hot coal. He got on his foots and jumped like a cat out to the floor where he landed with a splat. He was dressed in muskrat from his head to his foot, and his clothes is all dirty with ashes and soot. A sack full of playthings he threw on his back. He looked like a burglar, and that's for a fact. His eyes, how they shine, his dimple, how merry. Maybe he been drinking the wine from Blackberry. His cheek was like his rose, like a nose, like a cherry. On second thought, maybe he lapped up the sherry. With snow white chin whiskers and a quivering belly, he shook when he laughed like strawberry jelly. But a wink of his eye and a shook of his head make my confidence that I don't got to be scared. He done do no talking, but got straight to his work. Put playthings in socks and then turned with a jerk. He put both his hands there on top of his head, cast an eye on the chimney, and then he done said, with all that hot flame and them burning hot fire, I ain't gonna go back the way that I came. So he run out the door and climb on the roof. He ain't no fool for to make one more goof. He jump in his skiff and cracked his big whip. The gator they move down and they don't make one slip. And I hear him shout loud as a splashing he go. Merry Christmas to all, till I saw you some more. Toastmasters.
Wonderful. What a great reading. Now, I noticed that Manya and Hoon will be quietly chuckle, but I promise you, once you get the Nights Before Christmas book and read it, then everything will connect. And then you will yearn to read this version again. Have to beg Stan for that. Thank you so much. To this lead us to a spirit of Christmas now.